running as smooth as possible is tweak a few Windows options. In other words, I disable a bunch of resource hogging settings. First up is setting my Windows power plan to high performance. This will give me all the CPU power that I need for Csgo, which is a CPU heavy program. There's no CPU core parking in Windows 10, so I don't have to go finding that in the registry, and as long as I've made this change in the power options, I should be good to go. Next up is disabling Focus Assist and Game Bar. Focus Assist is a major culprit in making Alt-Tab times very long. For those of you that will say, why don't you play Windowed then? I'll get back to you in a minute. Also make sure to disable the Game DVR settings, which is a Windows setting that will allow you to capture in-game footage, but since I have OBS, I don't need that to hog my resources. In my Orion 9000, I'm running an i7-8700K CPU with an NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti. You'd think that this is a bit overkill for Csgo, but here we are, getting less and less FPS every time Csgo updates. I run my game in full screen, 16:10 aspect ratio, with a resolution of 1280 by 800. I use stretched and not black bars. I have shadows at medium so that I can see all of the important shadow details without hogging too many resources. You won't see more with higher shadows. I have my model detail on low from when I used to play with most of my settings on low, but my shader and effects details are both on high. I had them turned down to low or medium for a period of time, thinking that they would help with FPS, but also smoke grenade particles, but after watching a video 3 Clicks Philip put out, I raised these both to high to help me see through Molotov smoke particles more easily, with the added bonus of making skins actually look good. I have multi-core rendering enabled, as it will help with FPS on multi-core systems. I set anti-aliasing and filtering to at least 2x, and disabled the rest, including FXAA anti-aliasing, as it will either cause blurriness or a low frame rate. Anti-aliasing and filtering, I can go as high as I want on my 1080 Ti, but I keep it somewhere mid-range normally, so that it's not too big of a change for me should I use a tournament PC with a lower-end graphics card. It's important to keep these on when playing at a lower resolution, as it will help sharpen up image quality of player models at a distance. For example, if you're A-sight on Dust 2 looking towards pit. I have the option to go all the way up to 2560 by 1440 resolution on my Predator XB1 monitor, but I save that for other games I play. Browsing the web and doing video editing have been made easier by that enormous resolution, but for CSGO I play full screen and at a lower resolution with G-Sync enabled. Playing windowed mode or windowed mode full screen feels like I have input lag with my mouse. I haven't scientifically tested it with tools, but it feels like that for me, and so I avoid it. My launch options are -Novid, -Tickrate 128, +CL, interp ratio 1, and -Panorama. Novid prevents the video from playing when you launch your game so that your game loads faster. Setting the tick rate here to 128 will be for when I do custom maps with bots or trying to find smoke lineups. Interp ratio I set in launch options because sometimes it gets set to 2 for some reason. Unless you have packet loss, you should be using interp ratio 1. And then Panorama I have enabled because I like my game to crash randomly to see if I still have emotions. My monitor settings have my aspect ratio to use the full screen, and the color mode is warm. When I go to events, I usually do a factory reset on the monitor settings and make sure my aspect ratio is set up properly, and then I'd change my color through NVIDIA Control Panel in Windows. Speaking of which, my desktop color settings in NVIDIA Control Panel, digital vibrance is turned up to 80% and everything else is default. I have my master audio in-game set to 70% and control my volume through Windows mainly. My 10-second warning volume is at 10% so I can hear the music play when the bomb is low on time to help during clutch situations. Everything else will vary based on your headset. Most of my controls are default, but I've made a few adjustments for ease of access. I've bound T to Molotov Incendiary, F to use Smoke Grenade, mouse wheel up to use a flashbang, mouse wheel down to jump, and that will help me with bunny hopping. To do this yourself, in console type, bind, key, use, weapon_weapon name. That's it for my setup, and don't forget, if you use the exact same settings as me, you'll be just as good as me.
If you like this video, check out other Predator training room videos. You can check the links in the description below. There are advanced tips for advanced gamers, the next generation of esports. See ya.